How's it going, everybody? Welcome to today's stick mobility class. I am Coach Ray. Thank you for joining me for today. So for today's class, we are going to need 2 long sticks. We're also going to need a pad for us to kneel on. And we're also going to need the corner of a wall or something with a stable corner for us to press into, okay? So for today's class, we are going to be working with a row variation with some rotation, also a half kneeling overhead press type of drill. And we're also going to get into 1 or 2 simple hip exercises, okay? So let's first actually start off with pelvic tilts. So I'm gonna grab both sticks here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a wider than shoulder width stance. I'm gonna have both sticks angled in towards my toes. And I want both hands at about roughly shoulder height here. Now from here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sink down into a horse stance. I wanna make sure my pelvis is stacked under my spine and I'm staying up nice and tall. I'm gonna drive the sticks down about 20% tension here, and I'm just gonna hold this position just to get the core tissues warmed up. Make sure you breathe, hold. Good, ease off, pushing into the floor. Now I'm gonna reactivate, I'm gonna drive the sticks to the floor, 20% tension. Now I'm gonna do a posterior tilt, so I'm going to tuck my pelvis in, squeeze my glutes, and I want to make sure that I'm driving my knees away from one another. So I'm abducting the hips. Now I'm going to go into an anterior tilt. Good. Posterior. Squeeze those glutes. Anterior. You want to make sure that the spine isn't moving. Posterior tilt. You don't want to find that you're swaying back and forth here, right? Anterior. You want to feel like your entire spine, your mid and upper spine, posterior, or staying stable here. Good, anterior. We're going to go back to a posterior tilt. Now we're going to go lateral tilts. So I'm going to bump my right hip up. You should feel that right glute fire. I'm going to bump my left hip up. You're still driving those sticks into the floor. Bump the right hip up, left hip should drop. Bump the left hip up. Good, bump up the right hip. Left hip. Right hip. Good. Left hip. Excellent. Ease off and stand up. I'm going to place one stick down here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to take a wide stance, as wide as whatever's comfortable for you. Okay. And I'm going to have my toes angled out just a bit, all right? And again, this is also going to depend on your comfort level and where you're at mobility-wise. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a Cossack squat side to side. However, I'm going to add in a little bit of lateral flexion. So from here, make sure you're gripping the ground with both feet. I'm going to lunge over to my right, okay? I want to make sure my chest is staying up tall. And now I'm going to laterally tilt the left side of my stick down towards the floor, come back up, and then I'm going to push off that right leg, and now I'm going to go into that left side. Okay? Make sure my spine is up nice and tall. Tilt down to the right. You're going to feel that left rib cage open up a little bit, right adductor stretching. Back to center, push off that left leg. Now we're going to go over to the right again. Tilt. Really feel that adductor stretching out here. Back to center. Push up. Now to the left. Tilt to the right. Good. Back to center. Push off the left. Let's go one more time each way. Lunge over to the right. Breathe. Back to center. Push off the right. Over to the left. Tilt. Back to center. Push off to the left. Excellent. Let's go and wiggle those feet back in. Okay, good. Now we're gonna do here, we're gonna take the stick, I'm gonna bring it out in front. Now I wanna have the stick in my right hand. I'm gonna have it in front of my right foot here. Now I'm gonna grip the stick at roughly about face height, okay, about nose to chin, right around that area. And what I'm gonna do from here, I'm going to step back and I'm gonna get into a little bit of a hang here, okay? So I'll actually go from the side, so you'll see what that looks like. Okay, so feet roughly about hip to shoulder width apart. Bottom of the stick is right in front of the big toe of the right foot, okay? What I'm gonna do from here, I'm going to step back behind my left foot, okay? And I'm going to sink down into it, squeeze my right glute, okay? Hovering that back knee off, getting a stretch in the front of the hip. Now I'm gonna rotate to my left. So now I kind of open up those lateral tissues a bit. Back to center, then come back up. Good. We're gonna do that a couple more times here, okay? Make sure you got a good rope grip on a stick. Step back, behind the left foot. Place your hand on the stick, squeeze that right glute, rotate to the left. Good. Back to center, stand up. Let's go one more time. This time let's step across the left foot, okay? You can adjust your hand as you need to. Step across, squeeze a glute, rotate to the left. Gonna get a bigger stretch now on the lateral tissues, the rib cage, the lat. Good, back up. Excellent, switch sides. So now I'll go from the front. So we're getting the hip, right? The lateral tissues, getting everything to kind of stretch out here. So, same setup, all right? Take the left foot, step back, right behind the right foot, place the hand on the stick, squeeze the left glute, rotate to the right. Good, back forward, come up, excellent. Let's do two more. Same thing, rope grip on a stick, step behind, place that hand on the stick, squeeze the glute, drop that knee down, rotate to the left. Good, back forward, come up. One more time, this time we're gonna step across, okay? Adjust your hand as you need to. Step across, squeeze the glute, drop the knee down, rotate to the right. Good. Come out. Excellent. Good. Okay. Now we're going to do here, I'm going to step back a little bit more. We're going to get into a little bit of kayaking. Okay. We're first going to start off by not moving the spine. Okay. So we're just going to focus on the shoulders, then we're going to segment the spine, and then we're actually going to start to segment in the feet and hips as well. Okay. Grip the hands out as far as you can handle. Okay, start here. Start my left hand up high. Then I'm going to start to kayak here. Good. Remember, your speed should be matching mine. Want to make sure you got a good grip on a stick. Good. Excellent. Now we're going to start to segment the spine in. So it's going to start getting that rotation. As the right hand comes up and over, I rotate to my left. Try not to let the hips rotate. Movement is just at the spine. Good. Keep it going. Nice and slow. Now I'm going to start to pivot my foot and hips. So the left hand comes up and over. I pivot my left foot and hips, getting more movement. Good. Now, the foot that's grounded, you need to keep that hip facing forward, keep that foot facing forward more specifically to get a challenge on internal rotation on that outer hip. Good. 3, 2, 1. Good. Ease off. Take a second here. Okay. Now we're going to do, I'm going to take the other stick. And I'm just going to work on lightly hovering my back leg. This is just to get some activation. So I'm going to turn this to the side. Go from this position here. So I'm going to start. Now in terms of angle and position of the knee and hip, I'm kind of looking for a 90 degree angle, right? So 90 degrees on this back one as well. I'm on the big toe of my back foot here, and I want to make sure I maintain that contact with the floor. So I'm dorsiflexing that ankle, okay? Both sticks are in line with the ball and toes of my right foot, my forward foot. So what I'm going to do from here, having my hands at roughly about shoulder height, I'm going to drive the sticks down 30%. I'm going to hover my left knee off the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. Good. Go again. Hover. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. One more time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. Then we're going to switch. Okay. Again, this is just to get a little bit of activation. Same thing. All right. Drive the sticks down. Hover that back knee. 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. You should feel equal work load on both legs. Okay. Again, drive sticks down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. One more time. Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. Good. Now we're going to stand up. Move this pad over to the side. Okay. Now let's get the T-spine moving around a little bit. So we're going to go from the side. Okay. Feet are going to be roughly about shoulder width apart. Both feet are going to be facing forward. Now, in order to get more of a stretch, you actually want to have your hands a little bit higher. Okay. So I'm going to have both sticks angled in line with my big toe of both feet. I'm going to have my hands at roughly about nose to mouth level. From here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by having the sticks out in front, and then I'm going to move them outward. So this is going to work on opening up the chest and the T-spine. So from here, I'm going to drive my hips back, reach my hands out. Arm straight. Now we're just going straight right to the side. I want to squeeze those glutes as I'm coming up. Okay. Now I'm going to go out in a Y. Okay. So I'm going to have my hands a little further apart, not moving the bottoms of the sticks. And now I'm going to drive those hands out. Kind of making a Y shape here. And I'm going to slowly bring my hands down to the side. Once my hands are in level with my shoulders. Relax. Relax into it a little bit. You want to feel the chest tissues open up. Now I'm going to come back, getting more so into shoulder extension. So I'm going bringing my hands down closer to my hips. Going to get a different part of the chest stretching, a little more of that anterior delt. Now I'm going to come back out to the side. Good. Come back up into the Y. Come up. Excellent. Let's go into that one more time. I'm going to just turn forward here so you also get a little bit of a different view. Okay. Same setup. Okay, start off with going the arm straight out, not in the Y. For the T-spine, open up a bit more. Trying to get your chest to the floor. Come back up. Excellent. Sticks out a little wider. Now it comes out to a Y. Now if you got a really tight chest, your pecs are super tight, this is a really good way to kind of ease into stretching out those tissues. Bring the sticks down to the side, getting in line with the shoulders. Make sure you're breathing here. And you're actually hanging it a bit here, right? We're actually getting a little bit of a hang. Now I'm going to go into shoulder extension. Breathe. Good. Come back out to the side again. Good. Now to the Y. Make sure you're breathing here is super important. Good. Squeeze the glutes. Come back up. Excellent. Ease off. All right. Now we're going to get into the upper body drills first. So we're now going to get into that row with the rotation. Okay. So this is where you need the corner of a wall or something stable for us to push the sticks into, because we are going to be driving the sticks behind us. Okay. So we're actually going to kind of go through a couple of more like a deadlift. All right, so now we're going to get into our row variation here. So I'm going to have you set up as if it's like doing a deadlift here. And I want to make sure that my hands are actually right next to my hips, okay? Or right at my sides here. Now the sticks are angled back in towards something stable that we can press in against. And we're just going to focus here, or at least on the first rep, on getting the tissues active. So from here, keeping my shoulders down, arms straight, I'm going to drive both sticks back, about 60% tension. You should feel those lat tissues turn on, okay? Then I'm going to hinge, as if I'm doing a deadlift. I want my knees to stay over the line of my toes. I want to go down until the sticks get to mid-shin, and I want to drive the sticks back even harder. Hold that position. You should feel those lats engage. Going to come back up. Squeeze the glutes and ease off, okay? Now what we're gonna do here, we're gonna hold that bottom position and focus on our row along with rotation here. So same thing, shoulders down, arms straight, drive the sticks back, okay, 60%. Going to hinge. Keep it at mid-shin here, right? Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna row. So I'm gonna pull that right arm up, and as I do, I'm going to rotate the left end of the stick down towards the floor, so I'm getting some rotation. I want to hold. 3, 2, 1. Good. Bring that right hand back down. Rotate back to center. Now I'm going to do the left. Rotate up with the left. Drive that right hand down towards the floor. Try to keep the hips as square as you can. 3, 2, 1, back down, stand back up, squeeze the glutes, and ease off. Excellent. So we're going to go 2 more repetitions here. So again, it's very similar to a deadlift variation. So drive both sticks back, okay? Hinge. Keep those knees out. Keep driving those sticks behind you. Row up with the right. Rotate. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. Good. Rotate up with the left. Rotate the right end of the stick towards the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. Come back up. And ease off. Excellent. One more time here. Doing good. Okay. Drive both sticks back. Hinge. Good. Roll with the right. Rotate. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. Roll up with the left. Rotate. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Here, stand back up. Squeeze the glutes. And good. Excellent. Now, we're going to get into our half kneeling overhead press drill. So I'm going to place one stick down. Okay. And I'm going to take the pad. And so I'm going to start with my right knee down. Okay. So what we're trying to achieve here is we're basically just trying to make sure that we can stay in a really good upright position without extending the low back and having that rib cage flare up. So we want to try to keep the rib cage down as much as we can here. So I'm going to take the stick, place it behind my upper back here. All right. Now my back foot, I'm in a power position. So I'm driving that big toe into the floor here. Okay. Your hands, the width of your hands is going to depend on you. Okay. So from here, I want to have my elbows pretty much down to my side. So I'm kind of externally rotating my shoulders here. I'm going to drive that back foot into the floor. I'm going to squeeze that right glute and tuck my pelvis a bit. Okay. So you're going to get a stretch on the front of the hip a little bit, but we're activating. Now from here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the stick apart at about 60% tension. Keep that chin down. 3, 2, 1, and ease off. Good. Now, what we're going to do from here is we're going to start to press it out overhead. All right, so make sure you keep control of that rib cage. So drive that back foot down, squeeze the right glute, tuck the pelvis, pull the stick apart, keep the ribs down, press it up overhead.
Try to compress our shoulder stick. Come back down.
Good, and ease off. Okay, excellent. Let's go 2 more here. Drive the back foot down, squeeze the right glute, tuck the pelvis, pull the stick apart, 60%, ribs down, slowly press out overhead.
Shoulder stick. Good.
Bring the stick back down. And ease off. Excellent. Let's go one more time here, okay? Drive that back foot down. Squeeze the right glute, tuck the pelvis. Pull the stick apart. Bring it up, nice and slow.
Compress. Right there.
Ease off. Good. Now I'm going to turn forward so you also get a view of what it looks like from the front. So we're going to do that same thing, okay? Since we already kind of gone through the first warm-up. So we're going to do 3 reps on this side, all right? So drive the back foot down, squeeze the left glute, tuck the pelvis, okay? From here, pull the stick apart. Make sure you're breathing. Press up overhead. Good. Try to compress and shorten that stick. Bring it back down nice and slow. and ease off. Good. Let's get 2 more here. All right. Drive that back foot down, squeeze the glute, tuck the pelvis, pull stick apart, bring it up overhead. Good.
Compress. Bring it down nice and slow.
And ease off. Good. One last time. Doing good, folks. Doing good. Okay. Drive that back foot down, squeeze the left glute, tuck the pelvis, pull stick apart, bring it up overhead slowly. Good. Compress.
Bring it down slow.
And ease off. Good. Excellent. Okay. Now we're going to go to a standing position. I'm going to move this over. Okay. Now, what we're going to focus on here is we're going to focus on internal, external hip rotation. We're going to use the sticks as a way to get that isometric tension. So I want to try to work as close to our end range as we possibly can without any hip shifting or bumping. Okay. So I'm going to have both feet together. Okay. I'm going to have both sticks angled in towards me. Right. Now the width of the sticks is going to depend on, again, your overall mobility. So if you need to, start off closer. Okay. And then you can actually go wider if you want. Okay. So from here, I'm going to have my sticks roughly about shoulder width. All right. Hands are going to be at shoulder height here. I'm going to start with my left leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle or move just a smidge over to my right, just so my left knee naturally ends up being directly in the middle of the stick. I don't want my knee crossing or getting towards my midline. I want to keep it directly in line with my hip here. So arms are going to be straight, shoulders down, drive both sticks into the floor at about 50% tension, keeping my right leg straight, foot active. I want to bring up my left hip to 90 degrees, and I want to externally rotate and push against the stick, the right stick. Then I'm going to bring my foot back to neutral. Now I'm going to internally rotate, push against the left stick. Back to center, and then down. And ease off. Good. Okay. Let's do that again. Drive, so activate. Drive the sticks into the floor. Okay. Left hip up. Externally rotate, push, back to center, good, internally rotate, push, back to center, and down, ease off, good. We're going to go one more time here. Drop both sticks down, good, bring that left knee up, externally rotate, push, back to center, internally rotate, push, back to center, down, ease off. Good. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So now I'm just going to move over to my left a little bit more and make sure that hip comes up directly in line with, or knee comes up directly in line with the hip. Okay. So, arm straight, activate, drive those sticks down, right knee up, externally rotate, push, back to center, internally rotate, back to center, down, ease off. Good. Let's get 2 more here. Doing excellent. Drop both sticks down. Right knee up. Externally rotate. Back to center. Internally rotate. Push. Back to center. And down. Ease off. Good. One more time. Arms straight, shoulders down. Drive both sticks into the floor. Right hip up. Externally rotate. Back to center. Internally rotate. Back to center. Down. And ease off. Excellent. Good. Okay. So now we're going to get into the deep fascial stretching. We're going to focus on not only stretching out the adductors, but also the hamstrings a little bit. Okay. So we're going to first start off by stretching out the hamstrings. So I'm going to bring the bench over a little bit. What I want to do from here, the distance you are from the bench is going to always depend, but you want to make sure that you get your heel on the bench in a good position. So from here, I want to keep my ankle dorsiflexed, and I want to keep my left knee slightly bent. I don't want my leg straight here. It's going to shift that stretch. I want to make sure that the knee is slightly bent, toes are pointing straight up. Both sticks are roughly about mid-shin here. All right. So from here, I'm going to lightly drive both sticks into the floor, and I'm going to keep my grounded leg straight, and then I'm going to hinge forward going into the stretch. You should be feeling that hamstring stretch out a bit here. Make sure you breathe. Go ahead and come up. Ease off. Good. Now we're going to add in some rotation here. Slide bend to the knee. Keep that ankle dorsiflexed, toes pointed up. Drive both sticks into the floor. Okay. Slightly drive your foot into the bench and then hinge forward. Now I'm going to rotate my left hip, and I want to make sure I'm rotating at the hip here. So I'm going to rotate my hip externally, so I'm going to rotate my knee outwards away from my midline. Then I'm going to rotate it back to center, and now I'm going to rotate internally, rotate towards my midline. Good. Back to center. Externally rotate again. Good. Internally rotate. Good. Externally rotate. And internally rotate. Back to center. Come up. And ease off. We're going to switch sides here. So we're going to go through that same series of activation. Make sure that grounded leg is straight. Arms straight. Drive the sticks down. Light bit of tension. Hinge forward. One side is always going to be a little tighter than the other, and that's okay. Focus on your breathing here. Come back up. Ease off. Good. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add in those rotations here. Okay. Drive sticks down. Slight bend to the right knee. Toes are up. Drive that heel into the bench lightly. Hinge forward. Hang out here for a second. Now we're going to start to rotate. So I'm going to externally rotate. Rotate my knee and hip away from my center line. Good. Now I'm going to rotate internally. Good. Externally rotate. Internally rotate. Externally rotate. Good. Internally rotate. Good. Back to center. Come up. Ease off. Excellent. Okay. We're going to shift the bench back over a little bit more. Now we're going to get into working with the hamstrings and the adductors a little bit here. So let's take a stance as wide as whatever's comfortable for you. Okay. If you want to start off narrow, you can, and then wiggle your feet out a little bit wider. So just so I can show that example, for the sake of this one, I'll actually start off with my feet a little bit more narrow. and I want my toes pointed forward here. I'm gonna have both sticks laid on my shoulders, chest shoulder area here, and they're angled out pretty far, all right? Now from here, what I wanna do, keeping a really slight bend to my knees, I'm going to drive my hips back and reach my hands down towards the bottom of the sticks and sink my hips back a bit, okay? So it's gonna increase that stretch on the hamstrings. Good, slowly come up. Excellent. Wiggle your feet out a little bit if you'd like, okay, if you can. Same thing. Hands on top of the sticks here. Slight bend to the knees. You're gonna feel the adductors kick in a little bit more. Drive those hips back. Make sure you're breathing here. Good. Slowly come up. Good. Let's go out a little more, a little wider. One more time. Wiggle those feet out a little bit more. Okay. You can angle your feet out a little more if you'd like. Okay, if that's a little more comfortable for you. Same thing. All right. Slight bend to the knees. Drive those hips back. Reach down. Sink those hips back. Breathe. Three, two, one. Going to use your hands to help guide yourself back up. We're going to wiggle those feet in, nice and slow. Good, excellent. Now I'm going to place one stick down. We're going to get into those adductors a little bit. Now, we've done a Guitar Hero before. What we're effectively going to do is we're going to do that same type of drill. However, we're going to do it from a standing position, okay? So I'm going to take a wide stance, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to lunge over to one side, but as we do that, we're going to drive the stick down towards the floor. You're going to notice an increased stretch in that adductor line, okay? The bottom of the stick, you can have it angled in a little bit more, or the bottom of the stick in towards your big toe or your left foot here. We are going to start by lunging to the right. We're going to have it out a little further. It really kind of varies for this one, okay? But let's start with the stick, basically right about in front of the big toe to the left foot here. I'm going to have my right hand out, okay? I'm going to have my left hand effectively right where my center line is, so basically right where the sticker is, okay? Now from here, I want to keep this left foot fully planted, okay? And I want to turn that foot forward while my right foot's angled out a little bit. Place my hand on a stick. Now what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to lunge to my right, and then I'm going to drive my left hand down towards the floor, pull up with the right. Gonna get a stretch in the adductor line. Gonna come up nice and slow, ease off that tension. Good. Okay, we're gonna go into that 2 more times. If you like, you could play around with the angle of the stick. So I'm gonna move the stick out a little bit further here. Okay, same thing. Gonna lunge over to my right, sink my hips down and back, and then I'm gonna drive that left hand down towards the floor. Make sure that left foot remains flat. 3, 2, 1. Back up. Excellent. Let's go one more time. Rotate the stick a little bit. Okay. Same thing. Going to lunge over to my right, sinking my hips back, and then drive that left hand down towards the floor. Good. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Push off that right leg. Good. Ease off. Now we're going to switch sides. Point that right foot forward. Point that left foot out a little bit. Okay. Whereas the stick is starting in the same spot. It's still starting right in front of the big toe of the right foot here. Place your hands. Okay. Now from here, lunge over to your left. Drive that right hand down. Pull up with the left. Good. 3, 2, 1. Back up. Excellent. Bring the stick out a little wider. Okay. Same thing. Lunge over to the left. Sink in. Drive that right hand down. Left hand up. Hold. Really driving off that right leg here. 3, 2, 1. Drive back up off the left. Ease off. Okay, we're going to do one more time. Lunge to your left. Drive that right hand down towards the floor. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Good. Ease off. Come back up. Excellent. You're going to wiggle the feet in. Perfect. Last drill. Let's go ahead and grab this second stick here. And now we're going to do the human flag, okay? Or the human sail. So, feet width is going to very much depend on you. However, much wider than shoulder width is typically what I like to start with here. So, you can have the feet slightly angled out if you'd like, okay? I'm going to place both ends of the stick on the inside of my foot here, okay? Now, we're going to flow from going back and then forward, okay? So we're going to work on extension both ways here, all right? Now my hands are going to be roughly about face height. And from this position here, I'm going to start by reaching out with my hands and driving my hips back. So from here, drive the hips back, reach out with the hands.
Get a little bit of a hand. Then feel that chest bounce start to open up a little bit. Good. Now we're going to come up.
Squeeze those glutes to get your hips into extension. Now you're going to reach back and bring the hips forward. Good. Going to come back into that extension again. So,
reach those hands out, hips back. Good. Squeeze the legs.
All the way up, keep squeezing those glutes, reach back with both hands. Drive those hips forward. Let's go 2 more. Hinge those hips back. Reach forward. Come up. Squeeze those glutes. Hands back. Good. Back up. Let's go one more time. Drive those hips back.
Get a good stretch on the chest bone or shoulders.
Squeeze the glutes. Hips back. Good. Slowly come up. Ease off. Wiggle those feet in. Awesome. And that concludes today's stick mobility class. Thank you everybody for joining me. I hope everybody had a good class. And I'll be sure to catch you on the next one. Have a good day.